What's up, guys? For the record, today is the 23rd of January, 2018. We're now into Aquarius season, by the way, if you aren't up to speed with the transitions for the sun sign seasons. So, I'm not feeling very, Aquarius season is associated with being eccentric, weird, and a trauma signature. And me naturally having an Aquarius MC, plus other aspects, I tend to come off a little bit combative. It doesn't help that it's Mars Day as well, and the moon's also in Aries. But, so this isn't in any way me taking out on anybody. I'm well aware that I'm a confrontational, combative person. Naturally, that's how my natal chart works. And it's Mars Day of all days, which just makes it worse. And, yeah, so, and the whole Aquarius vibe thing just, through the sun and self-expression, just kind of reinforces me not thinking twice about, yeah, the way I'm going to say this to somebody might actually offend someone. Like, I'm so angry right now. Not anybody in particular, but just, like, I'm so angry at my tank top, if anything. So anyway, I'm going to go ahead and just do a sweet, quick tutorial, and Boo always makes fun of me because that means it's going to be really long. But I say that because I really don't even want to do this right now. But I'm trying to be constructive about this. Astrology 101. Natal versus transit or solar return charts. So, anybody who is familiar with like Astro.com or whatever, or if you at least know some of the basics, there's something just beyond your birth chart, right? So, you have your birth chart, and yes, all the wheels look the same. Of course, if you don't know what the fuck you're looking at, they're all going to look the same. That's why you come to people like me to read them, because they are different. So I'm going to go over something real quick. I offer, obviously, readings, and I also offer reports as well. So that's just PDF generated stuff. I have my own, interpretations that I, have actually saved into my software, and then some other, generated reports from astrological encyclopedias that basically define the report. That's why it's an instant PDF report. That's why it's cheaper, and that's why when I say, hey, I'll give your report to you in 24 hours, if it's a 30, 40-page thing, do you think I really write that all through one night? No, clearly I don't. So there's that disclaimer there. The benefits of getting an actual, face-on-face kind of consultation on the phone or whatever else with me is that if you go, hey, so I want to know if I'm going to get married soon, or I want to know if this is going to happen to me, or I want to know if this is going to happen to me, or can you give me like a play-by-play of like what's going to happen each month? Well, first off, you can do my calendar thing that I've talked about before, and if you haven't heard about that, then go look on my other video. I'm not going to elongate this. I really don't want to do this. That's the more individualized experience. That's also why it costs more, because I actually go and look at the charts instead of generating, the interpretations. I look at the charts and I take my time and I ask, questions either on the spot or previously from when I look at it, and I make sure that I specifically answer all those questions. So that's the perks, and that's the major difference between if you get the chart reports from me or if you get an actual reading from me. So that's why that there's a distinct different price. So, but for the return, not just for the return reports, but the reports in general. So the way that they're mapped out, we have natal charts or birth charts. So your natal chart, if you ever heard the word natal or natal astrology or natal chart, that is the chart, that is where all the celestial coordinates were in the sky at the moment of your birth. That defines your overall life themes, so your habitual behavior, usually people's habits or, poor choices or good choices usually, contribute to their future events. So that's what that goes into. So it defines the overall life themes, and then it explains the character. So like, for example, how I said in the beginning, how I'm a little bit eccentric and combative. That's in my chart. I can't change that. I can change not blowing up on somebody or responding to something, inappropriately. But I need to understand that, what day is it? It's Mars Day. What season is it? It's Aquarius time. What do I get in huge tiffs with people about? Because I have Aries ruling my Aquarius house, actually, and then opposition with my Mars, and my Mars conjunct my Venus and my Sun, so it makes me naturally combative. That's just a fact. on Mars Day, that amplifies it. If anything that would be associated with the personality, so the moon, rising, obviously the rising changes too frequently, but like the moon, the sun, or the Mercury were in Aries, it just amplifies the confrontation. So I'm trying to just deal with what I can and be constructive about this, understanding that's how my chart is all the time. Even if there are planetary aspects right now, like for example, when the moon was in Pisces, just, a couple days ago, I was totally out of it and I was very complacent. And despite the fact that there could be certain things that still would irritate me or bug me, I don't react as volatile, per se, having a Sagittarius moon, as I would when it was in Pisces, because the Pisces moon changes like the actual elemental factors, and it changes the actual, just the actual dynamic in general of the energy. Right. So, character values and passions are defined by the natal chart. All in red right there. It's all right there. Right there. See? Okay. Then we go to the green. Transit solar return charts. You can do transit to natal radix. You can do transit to transit. You can do solar return charts. You can do perfections. You can do, like, I want to know how my schooling's going to go, and I'm going to start schooling from June of 2018, and it's going to be till, June 2024, and I want to know exactly from that time to that time what is the themes or the planet alignments that are going to be impacting me that take effect to that. Those are all sorts of things you could do. The transit to solar return charts, when you're looking at the reports that I do, if you put a natal chart report and an actual transit or solar return chart report next to each other, they do look like they actually are laying out the same kind of thing, like describing a person. Because, like I just mentioned, how the Pisces moon can, influence me to be a little bit more docile. Or, for example, now that it's Aquarius season, I can be a little bit more, just being totally frank, fucked up and an asshole more than I already am. That's because the dynamic of it being Aquarius season with all the planets in my own chart that's already in Aquarius is just magnifying and amplifying that, or enabling it. Right. It's like enabling somebody's bad behavior. It's exactly how it is. That's the whole, if you've ever seen the memes online where it says, I hate those people that blame their zodiac sign for their behavior. No, you're just an asshole. There's some truth to that. You need to take accountability, just like I do myself. I need to take accountability that I'm an asshole sometimes. I do so. I try to call myself out on it and make sure that I'm well aware of when I'm being an asshole, and it also vicariously, when I'm looking at transits all the time, helps me be aware of when I'm typically an asshole so I can soften the blow a little bit. You see what I'm saying? So, the transit and solar return chart, as well as the natal chart reports, they both look identical. But the thing is that, I can do people's charts. Like, some people will ask me for a prediction chart, and they've never actually thoroughly had their chart read by me or had an actual chart return report generated by me as well. Like their natal chart itself, their birth chart. So if you don't actually know yourself really well, when you're actually reading one of the solar return charts, you're going to look at it and think that, oh yeah, that kind of sounds like what's going on right now, or that kind of sounds like me. Yes, it sounds like you right this year. Because if you've noticed, Jupiter, not Mars so much because it changes more often than not, Jupiter's a year, Saturn's 3 years, and Uranus is 9 years, and the Neptune is 13 years, and then Pluto can take from 13 to 20 something years to go through a sign. So when, for example, this year we had Jupiter, well, it was actually last year, we had Jupiter going to Scorpio. There's been a huge magnification in people getting sick and illnesses, right? So there's that. So people who potentially have a lot of Scorpio in their chart likely have been getting very ill. Or, coming down with the flu or getting sick or whatever like that. Or, feeling like they're bouncing back and forth off of conditions and illnesses and infections or whatever like that. Just like when Uranus is about to go into Taurus, anybody who has significant Taurus, and also remember the polarity phenomenon, the opposite of Taurus is Scorpio. The opposite of Scorpio is Taurus. So if you have anything in those... in your natal chart, the chart that you're born with, that are significantly influencing your dynamic overall, like how I explained, like my Mars conjunct my Venus makes me combative, I have those in Virgo and Libra. So when there's specific planets that go in, that are generational wise, like Jupiter, Saturn, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto, go into any of the signs that are like intricately defined in my dynamic, it will change the overall dynamic of who I am, therefore by proxy affecting my events and parameters within my life, because choices and people's actions define a lot of what they fucking do. That's the whole fucking point of there being overall life themes and habitual behavior. Astropsychology 101. So I had somebody who was questioning or curious why they, well, more or less, I haven't even read it all thoroughly, but I've seen like the bits of it in my email, that they don't think that their turn chart actually told them anything about what's going to happen this year. And that stems from, I know that person in particular hasn't gotten a natal chart reading from me, a report, or a consultation. So this is where this example right here, this is where this actually becomes a problem. So it's not anything that they did wrong on their end. It's not anything I did wrong on my end. This is the reason why I discourage actually people getting charts like that. Yeah. And that's actually why most of the time, even if people can't afford it or something like that, like if they want to get an actual transit or horoscope done like they did, that I give them a deal, like, because usually I charge like $30 to $40, sometimes $50, depending if it's Synastry and how long the actual report's going to be. Because the reports can range from the most minimal I can do is like 15 pages, and then some of them go to 60 to 70 pages long. So, I mean, you're kind of paying for page by page sort of thing. But when somebody comes to me and they're like, I want a horoscope done, but I'm kind of tight on money, I totally sympathize, I understand. I usually go, okay, so I'll actually do a natal chart reading, a basic natal chart reading report for you, and I'll do the horoscope thing, and I'll do them $20 each, which that would equate to 60 pages. So, I mean, and some people are just like, yeah, I just want to get the horoscope done. But this is actually a great example, and I was kind of irritated at first, but it's also because Mars Day, I already said that. But I'm actually really happy that this was something that came up, because then it actually gives me the opportunity to realize that there's a lost in translation kind of thing, and I can address this. So that's the gist of that. What else have I written on here? So chart reports, solar return, which is one of the horoscope readings for the year. It starts on your birthday to your next birthday. That's what the solar return chart is. Transit to natal is specifically like, hey, I want to see what the next year is going to bring for me right today, being on the 23rd of January 2018. So I would set an actual chart from this day to the next January 23rd of 2019. So that's, yes, give or take, if you want to look at it like that, that's supposed to be like an annual chart, but they're specifically, what are you doing? Hey, crackhead. Thought my cat had a bug in the bed, and I'm like, what the hell? But yeah, so that's what a solar chart is. It's your birthday. Your natal chart's obviously, that's your birth chart. You can't change that, by the way. If you're ever unhappy with your natal chart report, you're screwed. You better figure out how to love yourself, because you're not changing any of that. The solar return thing actually can change from time to time. So it's the signs and planets now influencing you. Right. Like, just even for example for myself, just to give you like a literal example. I have Mercury in Scorpio conjunct with Pluto. It's in my 6th house of health, Virgo, right? So Jupiter's supposed to magnify things, exaggerate things, or amplify the importance, right? So when Jupiter went into Scorpio, it's going over my Mercury. Mercury already has to do with your health, right? And Pluto has to do with disease. And the 6th house has to do with your overall, health and well-being, right? So you notice that since Jupiter's gone into Scorpio into October, I've been having this huge emphasis just on my narrative and like in my actual transits and stuff, and like my social media, about disease, and curing it, and da 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 da. So when I look at my solar return chart for this year, it says that I'm pretty much going to be a hypochondriac and I'm going to be freaking out about illnesses all freaking year. And look at that, it is. So let's pretend for a second I didn't actually know my chart. And I just look at this actual solar return chart and I go, I'm going to be a hypochondriac and I'm going to become a homeopath and I'm going to start curing people? That doesn't sound like me. That's freaking weird. I wouldn't do that. Yeah, that's exactly the kind of response that would happen if you don't actually know your natal chart. So that's why it's important to know yourself first before you can actually benefit from anything in astrology. And that's what I've been re-emphasizing with people on my social media, on my YouTube channel, and blah, 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 blah. And I know I talk too much, and I know none of you have the time to actually watch this because I don't even have a day job per se, even though I might soon enough. But if it takes all of my free time, which is all of it, to create these videos, I totally sympathize and understand that everybody can't watch them. But that's also why I repeat myself, and that's why I like trying to make short ones and stuff, so I can, or when somebody comes and talks to me about something like that, that I re-emphasize, hey, you should do this, you should do this, you should do this. But I don't impose that this is what they need to do. This is just my suggestion. This is what happens when people don't take my suggestions. I'm not trying to rub it in and say that I'm a know-it-all right now, but of course that's just my Aquarius thing, I'm sorry. But there's that. So, and just for clarification, anybody, just to make sure I'm all thorough, Synastry is basically taking the two natal charts of two people and superimposing them together and seeing like, oh dude, you shouldn't do that. Like if somebody has somebody's Black Moon Lilith conjunct with their Venus, don't do it. Depending on what the planets are involved and the house that it's in, will depend on if that person's a cheater or they're just toxic for you or they're holding horrible, horrible, disgusting secrets, or they blackmail you, or they, whatever kinds of things. Not good. Not good. So that's the whole, and those are things that, again, you can't change. So Synastry is the equivalent of natal astrology, by the way, just for two people. You can do that either with couples or families, like even if you want to understand, like somebody had a kid or something like that, and they wanted to understand the dynamic between them, how their child's going to react to them as they're growing up or whatever, to their newborn. I can do a comparison between anybody. I've done a comparison even between myself and Nostradamus before. And it's pretty funny. We're very similar, except for I was going to lecture him about how he's too kooky with his religious stuff, which is, yeah, but anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. But then the Fideria, which I accidentally deleted, my bad, or erased. Fideria, which is actually probably what I'll end up doing for this client. Fideria is the ancient or the Arabic associations with life cycles. So it actually says like by sub-periods. So Saturn's supposed to be the timekeeper. Saturn's supposed to govern how everything else breaks down, calendar years, etc., etc. And so it takes Saturn 3 years to go through a sign, 2.5, 3 years. That's called a sub-period. A Fideria is about past, present, and future. It's a substantially shorter actual report. And in fact, I would only do those for probably even $10, if anything. It tells you what's the date today, when does the next sub-period start, like date and year, what's going on in that one, and the past one is what's either going on right now, or if you actually happen to look at a Fideria when it's starting a new whatever. But usually the past, the present, and then the future. It gives you a vague outline of, well, you're likely going to change jobs within these next 3 years, or you're likely going to get a divorce, or you're likely going to get knocked up and have kids, or you're going to be relocating and studying abroad. Like those sorts of things, those vague things are mapped out in that. Because I emphasize on helping people, I'm going to contact the client and probably just give them this, or I'll just give them this anyway, for this. As a consolation, because I mean they're insinuating that it just sounds like a chart and they don't actually feel like they got anything from it. So I mean, and for people like, for example, I've had a client recently who asked like, should I get a chart done or should I get an actual reading done? And I'm like, well, what do you want to know? He goes, well, I want to know specific things like when am I going to get married? Is my career going to shift or change this year? Like, those are really specific things. Those things are not going to be something that I pre-generated and wrote up prior in some of my actual interpretation things. Because a lot of those are just straight symbolism and straight associations. I can't, superimpose and pretend like Oh, this says that you're actually, a chef in this one, but I know that you're actually, a writer. So just ignore anything that talks about cooking and associate it with your writing. That doesn't make any sense for me to do that. So it's the whole customization thing of getting the actual chart done. But Fideria, I guess, would be the one that would be the most, if you're gonna, can you tell me exactly what's gonna be happening in the next couple of years or whatever? But that's like a couple of years, though, like a couple of years, 2.5 years. But yeah, that's just that. And yeah, this may not seem super short, but 20 minutes is super short for me. Because every time I usually say that, it ends up being an hour. So that's it. So that's your crash course on the difference between natal, synastry, transit to natal, solar returns, or perfections, or Fideria charts. And explains what you're getting with some of the return charts, and if anybody's still interested in getting into the chart reports, by the way, I still am offering those. You can just contact me, or if you want a real consultation, like an actual customized consultation, you can also hit me up as well. And yeah, goodbye.